Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter here, and welcome to another episode of the Tic Toc Diner. And Jeff and I have been sitting here talking for the last couple minutes. We need to actually have an intro video for this. We figure 8 episodes in now. It'd probably be a good idea if we actually had something a little snappy, to kind of get things started. I think maybe we need to talk to our friends over at the Logistics Lounge to see what they might be able to do to help us out. They're really good at that kind of thing.
They are. Definitely. Our bad, but we have the passion for the freight fraud task force and what we're doing. That wasn't a priority, John. But it is because everybody else has an intro and we don't have one. So yeah, we got to hop to it and make sure we do have one. So.
Oh yeah, and we'll get there eventually, guys. I mean, when we put this together, we wanted to get good information out as quickly as we can about people who are really doing positive things when it comes to dealing with freight fraud, and that's what we try to bring you all every week. And this week is definitely no exception.
Right, and talking about that, we have some great guests that are going to be joining us from OnSight, and they'll be OnSight. So.
Yes, OnSight is OnSight. And for those of you who don't know what OnSight is, I'm going to let them describe their platform. But it's probably one of the most innovative verification platforms I have ever heard of. So Jeff and I are serving up our usual helping of freight fraud with a side of prevention. And today we're doing it with OnSight. So grab yourself a seat, pick up a menu, and your server is going to be right with you. And while you're taking a look at your menus, let's go ahead and introduce our guests, Alex Snook and Errick Quartucci. Did I get that right, Errick?
You got it close enough. Yeah, that works. Quartucci.
Quartucci. It's that New England accent of mine. I'm from south of Philly, and I got
a little under the weather too. Maybe a little.
He is.
You have no idea. And that would be my task force minute for today, folks. Okay, I travel a lot with what I do in fraud prevention consulting, and flying back from Phoenix last week, I caught something, and it kicked my tailbone. Oh my God. You can still hear it in me, and I've been out of it for the last 4 or 5 days. So if you're going to be flying, please make sure that you're healthy before you get on the plane. If you are, please make sure you have a mask when you're on the plane because it's all recirculated air, and you can get the whole damn plane sick like that. And I think that's probably how I got sick on this one. So that is going to be your task force minute for today. But let's go ahead and get into OnSight. Alex and Errick, I have been following you guys for almost 2 years now. What is OnSight? What is it that you're trying to do?
Yeah, thanks, John, for having us on. Me and Errick were actually working together. So I have a background as a freight broker and a former co-owner of a trucking company. Smaller, we just had 2 power units. But me and Errick were working together for one of our clients. And we went to go book a carrier on just a short little Southern Cali, Northern California run. And it was for some solar panels.
Uh-oh.
I guess that's why I'm here, to just kind of help fill the gap. Yeah.
I think he needs to pay his bills.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I'll have to have a conversation with him about that later. But yeah, just kind of take off with where he, I guess, froze at. Yeah, so we were working as broker agents, and we had a customer in Southern California that had a load of solar panels, and that load of solar panels, we hired a carrier, and everything from the broker's perspective, all the tools we had, they looked great on paper, green lights all around, and long story short, driver picked up the load, took it, and then over the weekend we lost where that load was actually at, and come Monday they started to blackmail us to pay for the load to be delivered. And it was a very sobering moment as brokers to be like, we're doing everything we can,
Sure.
Not just to move the freight, but also to to protect it, and they're still making it through. And so we started kind of identifying what went wrong, how can we do better going forward as brokers, and we started to realize that there's a huge gap at the shipper. And it's crazy that the shipper we had, they basically only collected the driver pickup or the pickup number from the driver. There wasn't really any other information they did collect. And so, while we're scrambling around trying to find out where the freight is, who actually has it, we were also very aware that we have basically nothing but what the original carrier gave us, or the carrier gave us as identifiers for them. And we were like, that's a gap that needs to be filled. And so that's what spurred OnSight, from I guess it would be August 2024 on. I think Alex has hit me up. He lost connection. He'll be back shortly. But we just kind of ran off on the idea that, we need to build a shipper-centric product that allows them to jump back into the game. And there's the man.
Let me ask you this. And I was a shipper for 38 years, and I implemented a lot of work instructions and process improvement plans that identified those gaps and those loopholes that I think that you're talking about. The one thing that I don't want you to do, so if you feel that you do not want to answer it, I fully understand it, because I don't want to open up the back door for the bad guys that may be watching this show. But I'm going to ask you anyway, and we could take it offline. What was the gap and the loophole that you identified that you simply closed it? If you don't want to answer it, that's fine, because I just want to find out,
Alex, what do you think?
Really, I think it's what everyone has been preaching is like, how can you enforce an SOP that doesn't exist?
Correct. No, don't say anything more. Yeah, I totally agree with that. 1 billion%. And I've been saying that for years.
So it's almost like this. Mentality wise, it's like we all on here definitely have our own avenue, and okay, who can we partner with to solve the problem of cargo theft and freight fraud? Mm-hmm. But we have to start somewhere. So for us, we're like, let's just start with the shippers who care, right? I mean, that's all you can do. You can't just force a shipper, hey, they should do this, they should do that. Well, at the same time, let's just start with the people who care. And then eventually the other ones that don't care will get burnt. We don't want them to get burnt, but they will. And it'll eventually happen. So I think it starts with shows like this that you guys put on. And in fact, last fall or so, about a year ago, we were coming up with the idea after we had the situation of stolen cargo, and we were watching an episode, I think that John was doing. Jeff, you might've been on there too. This is before the Freight Fraud Task Force. And it just kind of snowballed. I was like, hey, Errick, I just heard John say that he worked at a warehouse and the processes they did. So it just kind of, it pings back and forth, and the synergy gets built, and it keeps growing. So I don't even really think it is one thing. I think it's a collaboration. It's enforcing the SOP. So we want to provide that for shippers who maybe don't have a good one, and then also provide them with simple tech, not that they need a PhD in astrophysics to run the dang thing. That's what we've heard from a lot of shippers we've talked to, is that they would use technology, but they don't want stuff so complicated. They got to retrain guys that quit every 6 months. And they're just paying for tech they're not using. So that is kind of the mentality attitude that we're taking with this, since we do, we come from the freight and logistics industry. It's not like we were just engineers, or, we don't have our CTO on here, but we don't come from a tech background trying to fix a problem in the freight fraud space. I think a little bit of the advantage we do have is just being in it for, just me and Errick collectively for about 20, 25 years. So
I think the key to what you're saying, Alex, especially when you said, when people leave and stuff like that, it's about putting work instructions, SOPs in place that can be worked upon. You got the original document, and now you want to see process improvement plans and create addendums to the original one to show continuous improvements over time. right?
Yep.
So when those people do get released or quit or moved on, that program that you created in place now can be followed, and here's the critical thing. The critical matter of this whole problem is that shippers have the mentality, well, it never happened to me, okay, being a reactive, not a proactive mindset, until a catastrophic event happens. And just like that, on a dime, they go from reactive to proactive, and then they start implementing what you're talking about, those programs to save it. The thing is to switch that mindset of the shipper that says, I don't need that, never going to happen to me, to convince them by case studies and identifying what John and I are doing, and then also with the Freight Fraud Summit and stuff, is identifying those type of problems on an insurance side, on a law enforcement side, regulations, all that kind of stuff that says, no, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen eventually. It's the logistics industry is a blindsided industry. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but I can promise you it will happen. And when it does, if you're thinking about saving money, the cheapest way out is going to be the most expensive decision that you ever make. And it's a fact. It's a fact.
And even if they do have that course correction, sometimes it's like from no cares at all to, oh my gosh, let's go way too. And so it's like kind of bringing them back to that medium, like, hey, yes, add some proactive prevention measures. You don't need to, have everyone do a mouth swab as your employees come in. But like, let's find a happy medium. And then, like you said, add those addendums and just work on them. So, but yeah, that's kind of our framework mindset. It's been a bigger battle uphill, because we knew from the get-go that like we could create a tech to sell the brokers and carriers. And because obviously we're all thinking about the three main pillars of this problem: carriers, brokers, shippers, in terms of the most interactive pieces to solving this problem. So we just figured shippers at point of pickup is really, it's going to be the longer stretch. Because like you said, it's not just fighting the market, it's fighting mentality and old patterns and shippers relying on brokers for lots of things. Mm-hmm. And I think it's starting to shift. We may be at the beginning, so we still have a lot of work to do, but I think it's
so. Let's talk about OnSight and your tech, right? So not all tech is built for everyone to operate on the same level. Does your tech flex according to different operational platforms that you run into? Do you have the ability to meet their requirements based on what their operational requirements are, based on different silos of verticals in which they work in? Can you adapt? What's your adaptability with your tech?
Yeah, Errick can take this.
Yeah, so adaptability, I guess I kind of need to understand a little bit more specifically, like an adaptable feature that you're really after. But I mean the nature
warehouse, pickup point.
Yeah, it could be anything. Like if you think of all the verticals that are out there, from retail to machinery to different types of warehouse layouts,
vehicles,
and
all that stuff.
Right. How they move their freight and handle it and all that. So there's different logistics mechanisms to every type of different vertical and operation, right?
Sure.
So how does your tech solve that?
Yes. So thank you for that deeper explanation. So yeah, we built the product to meet the shippers where they're at. And what that means is we had to build a flexible product. Our product can essentially be used on any physical device that the shipper owns. And that's what we would press them to do. Do not rely on anybody else's device except for a device that you guys can actually specifically control. A method that we would probably deploy at a shipper that has a standard, walk-in, driver checks in, either at a shipper's, I'm sorry?
Like at a plexiglass check-in, like a clerk.
Yeah, plexiglass check-in or checkboard check-in, whatever it is we would deploy a, security armed framed tablet that can do the process right there with the driver. That's in sight, bringing that physical sight back to the process on making sure that, they're not messing with the device, they're not trying to scam it in some way or get around the different security features that we've implemented into the product. But the ultimate adaptability is just it being able to be used on really any device, any electronic device that a shipper would want to deploy this on, it can be deployed on. And so it's
for sure. Yep. And for even flatbeds, if it's an open yard, definitely having it where they don't have to be attached to an arm, and obviously a cover. So taking into the elements, like if it gets dusty out there and you've got someone handing back a tablet back and forth, but main point being flexible, but also we want it to be the shipper's device. Obviously we can supply that device for them when they launch as well, but something that if they want to use. So.
Awesome. Well, guys, I've got to scoot. I've got a prospect meeting. So I appreciate you guys coming on and discussing this. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. I'll give you guys a call like either tomorrow or maybe the first thing next week. All right.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good meeting you.
Yep. Same here.
Okay, cool.